line that comes your way every Wednesday 9 p.m. from your family TV, the Church of Uganda television station. With pleasure, Baguma Tinkasimira Richard, your host. I'm glad to be back, to be together with you. Thank you so much for joining us as we go through the issues that matter to us, matter to the country, oftentimes beyond our borders. This evening, to cruise through the issues that we are going to talk about, is Arthur Ahimbisibwe. Arthur Ahimbisibwe is on my immediate right, and he's a social development consultant. A little further on my right is Dr. Daniel Rugarama, the chairperson of the Pan-African movement in Uganda, also a geo-strategic thinker. Geo-strategic thinker. I got it. I welcome you, and about a few things we are going to look through with this crew of mine tonight. One are the reports that our forces, our security forces, are going to deploy in Palestine, particularly the Gaza Strip, as a stabilization force after the fighting that has been happening there, a story that many of our viewers would know. We are also going to look at the corruption crusader, Baram Barugahara, the Honorable, the new kid on the block as Minister for Local Government, together with his State Minister, the Honorable Namere. They've been going around inspecting projects and leaving people, various kinds of professionals, behind coolers. This is another, development that has generated a lot of conversations. We will then touch a bit on the World Cup, the thing that is holding global attention, the thing that currently has the largest number in billions of viewers and followers across the globe. So I would like to welcome you, gentlemen, to the show. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Ahimbisibwe, Arthur, say hello to our viewers. Tell them a little bit what this social development consultant is.
Yes. Hello, good evening, viewers. I'm called Ahimbisibwe Arthur, a social development specialist or consultant, and I'm here and very happy to be here with you on Family TV. Social development consultant, usually when we talk about social, we talk about people. Projects either by government or the private sector are intended to benefit people, and therefore that's where we come in as experts to ensure that the projects or programs or even policies or any other intervention designed facilitates people or benefits the people the way it was intended to, without compromising their social well-being. Thank you very much.
Dr. Daniel Rugarama, say hello to our viewers.
A very good evening to our dear brethren, and Comrade Baguma, welcome back.
Thank you.
I hope you will tell the viewers where you had gone for vacation. I am certainly looking forward to this debate, because I think our forces being deployed of all places in Gaza Strip is such a wonderful area of discussion. And also this corruption crusade taking the dimension it is taking now. Not that this is entirely a new thing, but maybe being driven by some new forces, majority of them allied to the PLU, is something to awaken some of us into another debate altogether. And like you said, if we can have the time, I hope we shall, to look at this multi-billion lucrative business, because football is such a profitable thing. FIFA World Cup, then there are so many talking points around there. So I'm really looking forward to this debate, and I hope our audience will, as usual, keep together with us until we conclude this.
Thank you very much. First of all, I must commend you for ably threatening my chair while I was away. So tonight I was thinking, do I really need to come back? Dr. Rugarama steered the shows while I was away. And you challenged me to share. I did a round. I was in Addis Ababa, in Vienna, and in Lisbon mainly. I visited a few other places in Portugal, but those were the main places. And while I vacation, but I had accompanied the Kensington Football Academy of Uganda, which had been invited to participate in a global young or children's football tournament. It's called the IBA Cup. It attracts about more than 50 countries globally. And a lot of the academies from the elite teams, it was a pleasure to meet them. And my son plays football, so the reason really I went was because all the other parents were denied visas. So I had the advantage of having ability to travel at short notice. So that's really why I went, and it was such a pleasurable thing. There was no vacation. I was working every day managing children, 30 children, because it's the tournament is for 17 and below. So those were the teams. We had under 7, under 9, and you know. So that's for purposes of disclosure. That has nothing to do with our deployment in Gaza. And I was just hoping that I can get assignment in Gaza as part of the civilian team. I have been to Gaza. I've been to Gaza previously, so that's okay. And maybe I should also say that Job is here to do the job. Job, you are very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Before we delve into our Gaza deployment, I will just ask you to briefly tell our viewers hello. And just say, who is Job? Or you?
I used to be offended when I was younger when people called me Yubu. But now I realize it's actually very okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, good evening, viewers. Job Kiija is my name. I work with the Innovations for Democratic Engagement and Action, which is IDEA in short. We are a young people's democracy ideas incubation hub. We are a policy think tank. We are a research center, and we are a big data center. Happy to be here with you all. My expertise is in governance research and public policy. Yeah.
So I'll start with you, Ahimbisibwe.
Yes, please.
The story broke, and I think being in the official national newspaper, we can say with relative certainty that this is a correct information. Yes. That our security forces will yet again be deployed outside here for another stabilization mission, this time in Gaza. You know, I cannot for certain say post, but at least with the de-escalation of the hostilities between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and the contingency of stabilization forces is being considered, and Uganda is one of those. Don't you think we are going to promote social development in Gaza when we deploy there?
I need his services.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. UPDF deployment in Gaza, I would look at it at a social perspective. In terms of development, I don't think there is direct development associated with that. However,
why?
There is no arrangement that maybe after deployment we are going to get a certain amount of money as a country. But at an individual basis, I think the forces we will be deployed there will be catered for. But also as a country, there are arrangements. I read that a newspaper in New Vision which talked about the arrangements. And as a country, we are improving our image, which has socio-economic benefits. For example, you look at the alignment of the national alignment that because this was an initiative by President Trump, and by contacting our president, you see that direct contact it can be associated with economic gains, given that USA is a developed country. Then also I can look at it in terms of other implications, because these forces, however much they are not going to fight, it is not about combat, but they will be in a war-torn zone, which means that their welfare can be compromised. The forces which are going to be deployed have families around in Uganda. They have brothers, sisters, and other family members, plus friends. So they are going to miss them, and that is a social implication. It is a social implication. Then even their lives can be at risk, given that this is a war-torn area, considering the fact that the war has been going there for more than 2 years at the moment. Yes, but also I can look at another perspective in terms of security for our country, because much as this is a very good initiative where Uganda is contributing to peace by acting as a stabilization force. But also, remember that, yes, we are a stabilization force, but the core reasons as to why the war started in Gaza has not been resolved, according to me, and therefore we can be indirectly be involved in that conflict. Yes, for example, the Hamas or the people of Gaza who have a different perspective may see us Ugandans as invaders, or as people who are supporting the invaders of their country, and therefore we might have negative implications that go as far as affecting people in the country. In terms of, I've heard rumors at some point that even some extremists may attempt to, in a way of retaliation, to retaliate on Ugandan soil in terms of terrorism activities. So, whereas this is a very good initiative, I see it having other negative implications. Unless the preparations are made clear and people are engaged.
Okay. Dr. Rugarama, this is a geo-strategic win for Uganda?
No.
No?
It is not a win. Granted that it is not the first time Uganda has deployed outside her geographical boundaries. Actually, regionally, Uganda is one of the highest ranked country that has deployed her forces in countries like Somalia. They have done a commendable job there, and against a Pan-African background. And you remind me to tell the public as to why I said that. In Central African Republic, yes, again against the Pan-African background.
We started many years ago with ECOMOG.
Yes, like I said, Uganda, for that matter, is one of the leading countries here on this continent that has done that. So we are not looking at a new thing. And that is African Union in some cases, or at the invitation of individual countries like in Southern Sudan, for instance, and many other areas. We invited ourselves in Rwanda, but at the end of the day, I think what happened, there would be an argument that those were Rwandese, but they were our soldiers. So the argument that they were Rwandese who went there without invitation may not so much hold water, because they were part of our army and they just went there. As whether they went there when we were sleeping or were awake is another debate altogether, because I saw it in the paper.
I was going to raise that. I was going to say that this guy is Bache Wagura.
So really, the point here is that although Uganda can deploy anywhere far away from the African continent, I need to be reminded as to whether this is the very first time they are deploying far away from the African continent. But specifically in the case of Gaza, my questions would be, one, under what auspices? Is it under the United Nations?
Coalition of the willing.
I'm told it is Trump who invited. And when I look at the countries that have been invited, and there is Morocco.
Under the Board of Peace.
A board of which competes to unseat the United Nations. Because when you look at what Trump is trying to do under the Board of Peace with the duties of the United Nations, there is quite a lot of confusion there. However, my point really here is, who is inviting Uganda into the Gaza Strip? In your opening remarks, you said the Palestinian soil. I liked that. But how many times, even in our mainstream media, have you heard CNN, BBC, Sky News refer to the Gaza Strip or West Bank as Palestine? Never, you can hardly hear that. But when you look at the person who is inviting and the countries that have been invited, those Kazakhstan, Morocco, just let's look at Morocco. Morocco during Trump 1 cut a deal with the Trump administration for Trump to recognize the direct colonialism. The only remaining country on the African continent that practices direct colonialism is Morocco. Against the people and the independent nation, at least according to according to African Union, the position of African Union on the Republic of Sahrawi is that it's an independent country. But Morocco has refused that. Now, it quoted the United States of America, and in turn, Trump said, if Morocco can recognize, away from again the position of the Arab League, that Israel is legit, then it would be okay. America will sustain that indeed Morocco has a right to have direct control over Horasaria, the Sahrawi Republic. So I don't know the interests of Uganda. I can understand the interests of Morocco. The interests of Uganda, I don't know. Now, even if it was bilateral, has now Gaza Strip, which is a territory of Palestine, become a territory of America? That's why I was asking, who is inviting Uganda? Is it a position of Security Council? Is it a position of the Palestinian people, that authority? Is it a position of... and when you look at what is going to be kept, you see, Comrade Baguma, we have had, for instance, in DRC, we have had MONUC and MONUSCO for ages. And if I may state, these two, the presence of the peacekeeping mission, because they are saying we are not going to fight, it is just keeping security. I don't know if that is what Gaza needs now, but, that aside.
But Dr. Rugarama,
yes,
we have international mandates. The mandate of peacekeeping, which keeps you away from offense. Your forces cannot offend. They can only, and then there is where is peace enforcement. Those are two global UN separate mandates. Peace enforcement, you can actually enter into offensive operations. We in Somalia are a stabilization, and we get into offense. So you can anticipate what will happen if we go to Gaza.
Let me ask, what would the forces of Uganda and Morocco and Kazakhstan, what peace needs to be kept, and who is bringing instability in the Gaza Strip, that the UPDF, for instance, or whoever it is going to restrain from disturbing that peace? We know for a fact who is bringing chaos. We know who has killed children, has razed the city, has displaced millions of people from Gaza Strip. Do we really, honestly speaking, do we need a peacekeeping mission, or whatever other name you want to give it, to go to Gaza Strip to keep the peace who we know clearly is taking it away? Because by acquiescence, we know that the United States of America, along with the Israel Defense Forces, are the ones that have created the kind of commotion in the Gaza Strip. Is it really true that even under the mission, whatever the name they want to give it, these forces will have the capacity to restrain a combined force of defense forces of Israel and America from destabilizing the peace which they have destabilized for such a long time? For me, really, at the end of the day, they can go ahead and do what they want to do because they have always done that. But to say that there is a force coming from Uganda, coming from Morocco, coming from Kazakhstan to maintain peace, and that we are going to buy into that, we are not that naive. There's nothing, this is just drama. I don't think anything serious is going to be done.
Surely, the people who are inviting us to go to Gaza, according to Dr. Rugarama, and many people agree, are the ones who have created mayhem there. We know that actually they have been withdrawn in some of the instances. And they are saying, okay, we are getting out of here. We need a neutral, quote-unquote, group to come and re-establish some stability here. Why not?
Well, for me, I will look at it really more from the strategic positioning of Uganda as a country, because I think over the past 4 decades, the current establishment has postured itself as a provider of cheap military labor across the board, because this is not the first time. And for me, if I were Israel or even the US, I would be asking the question, if I can get free, let me call it cheap military labor, because at the end of the day they will pay for it from somewhere else, whereby there is less requirement for accountability, even for lives lost. Because I mean, even here, Ugandan soldiers are dying every day, and there's no one demanding accountability. If citizens can die, and there's no enforcement of accountability, people can be abducted. Okay, so for them, they look at us as that country where they can just come and pick cheap labor, which doesn't have to be accounted for as long as the regime can be paid, because we have positioned ourselves that way. And so because a soldier, an American soldier dying in battle, even an Israeli soldier, that is a serious issue. You have to account. But for you, you've offered yourselves as people who don't matter so much to your families and even to your citizens. And so just by offering some pennies, we can actually buy you. So for me, if I were Israel or even the US, I would actually really run for that opportunity. Because you know for a fact that a US soldier is probably paid a lot more than they are paying for a Ugandan soldier. So they look at this as a source of cheap labor, but also I think Ugandan soldiers is probably even more battle-hardened than even Israeli and even American soldiers. So I look at it from that lens, and I want to link it back to an event which happened just last week. We passed out over 10,000, and we've been doing this consistently for the last 3 years. So one of the questions we should actually be asking ourselves is, why are we building such a huge force? Do we need it? Uganda is not going to war. Actually, Uganda has not been at war in a very long time. Uganda has not had any serious threat in quite a long time. Our military is one actually of the largest, I think, in the region. So the point is that we are positioning ourselves as the providers. We have a lot of cheap military labor that we can provide. We've been deployed in so many other places in the past. In fact, there's an accusation that we have actually even interfered in the most recent conflicts in the region, including, I think, in Kenya and Tanzania. There are those accusations about us. If you speak to some of the people that have been following these things, they actually we have been accused that, you know, there are some people that there are some boots on the ground in Tanzania that were not speaking Tanzanian Swahili, and they believe that the only source where those could have come from could actually be here, because of the way we have positioned ourselves. So the question then thus is, what is the impact of that on us as a country? Number one, if you look at it in terms of economically, we are spending, because to train each of these soldiers, we spend money. The taxpayer is charged. We are spending a lot of money on our national budget that is in terms of classified expenditure to the military. Trillions that are going to the military year in, year out. So if we are training these soldiers and we are deploying them in foreign jurisdictions, not to defend us as a country, okay, it means there is something we should be earning from them. So I have never had at any one point where we have actually received accountability, because I think this money should be going to the consolidated fund as a receivable. But I don't know whether you've heard of Baguma. You're probably more experienced and as even a journalist, and you've been around longer than I have. I don't know that if you have ever had a declaration that this is how much we have received from deployments. We deployed, I think, did we deploy in Iraq?
No. In Iraq, we went
They're
there.
private,
We went there on private arrangements.
Private arrangement.
Maybe I should tell Joe.
And many of us
that that
made the
is
money from there.
classified. If they pay, it is classified.
No. It can be classified expenditure, but a receivable shouldn't be classified.
Why
surely.
not?
No.
If
We
expenditure
don't
is
have
classified.
anything like that. At least I've not heard of any. I've not heard of anything like classified revenue. Classified expenditure, yes. We understand. You don't want to. Maybe there's some sensitive assignments you are doing or sensitive equipment you are buying, and you don't want us to know your supplier. That one is understandable. But if it is really receivables, if you can openly declare that you know we are going to deploy in Gaza, then you should be transparent enough to let us know that because of this deployment, this is how much you are going to receive in return. Because for me, the question I ask is, what is the net benefit to the taxpayer by this deployment? The second question I would ask is, I know in the past we have actually had deployments without approval. I think even in Somalia at first there was no approval. So the question is, the
Approval from who?
there's supposed to be an approval from Parliament. You don't just deploy. Yes,
Parliament.
you don't
Okay.
just deploy.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're risking the lives of Ugandans, okay, and their resources which have been spent by the Ugandan taxpayer to train these soldiers. So the question is, has there been a formal approval by Parliament for these deployments? The third question for me, which is related to a point I raised earlier about our indulgence in conflicts in the region. There's this whole aspect of imported conflict. We have suffered before. We had an attack from Al-Shabaab.
That's why we deployed.
No. We are deployed already. The reason they attacked us is because we are deployed
No, but
without
you see-
clearance.
No, but you see, the militants, the Islamic militants, whatever you call them,
Militants.
in
yes.
Mozambique, in wherever, it's not because these countries have deployed there. In fact, one of the things I can tell you from the very little knowledge I have is one of the most effective methods of defense is offense. You have to, you don't allow them to come to homeland. You find them there. Yes, disrupt them from there.
But they came here, okay, because we had actually started engaging.
Not really, no. The ADF and the what didn't start because
I'm not
we had
talking about
engaged.
ADF.
But that's part of the whole group.
I am talking about Al-Shabaab.
It's a family. It's a group of, you can't ignore the other ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, not every group can just come and attack you. A group should have a reason to attack you. They don't just attack.
So why was ADF attacking us? But I don't want that to divide.
No, ADF, we can go into the merits of the attack on ADF.
Yes. And
Because they also have their reasons for attacking us.
That's very good.
Yes.
And
that's why I'm talking about imported conflict. Because a militant will attack you because they are either retaliating or they are deterring your attack on them.
No.
Yes.
I think
they will not just come and attack you.
I think we are going to go into another conversation, and I would like to avoid that because I would like to stick to Gaza. I think we need to have a conversation about why people attack. They don't necessarily have to be provoked. Sometimes they have political agendas. But I don't want that to
Yes.
divert our attention.
Yeah.
So one of the things you are saying is that this could result into imported
conflict.
Yes.
Yes. It could result into imported conflict. And I think it's either Rugarama or the other gentleman who made reference to it, that actually one of the fears is that because of the groups you are attacking, they are, not really attacking, okay, where you're deploying, how will they perceive your deployment? Are they going to perceive your deployment as just really, I don't know even what they are calling it. I've not really read deeply into this deployment, but is it a stabilization force? Because
it's a proposal.
it's
just
a proposal. Yes,
But the proposal is a stabilization force.
stabilization force. Yeah,
What are we
because
stabilizing?
So if you go into stabilization, definitely you are going to end up being drawn into the conflict.
No question about it.
Yes, because also the way the conflict in Gaza has actually been evolving, you realize that there's a lot of goalpost shifting. Today you hear this, you are signing a peace deal, tomorrow there's an attack from either side. Okay, so the question is, how do you get in there and you remain neutral? okay, which I think is actually next to impossible. So if there's a difficulty in you remaining neutral, how do you then avoid that conflict from spilling over to your country? Because actually both, definitely we are going to engage on we have a relationship with Israel, we also have a relationship with the US. Okay?
By the way,
yes,
we have been among the most consistent positioned countries in any forum, non-aligned, the UN, wherever, for a two-state solution. So
Yes.
we are actually pro the Palestinian state. It's not true that we are just pro-Israel.
For me, the point I'm making is what I know is that we have a formal relationship with the US. We also have a formal relationship with Israel.
And with Palestine too.
I don't know about the Palestinian relationship. Okay?
Even the authority.
The authority we have.
Because we have voted consistently at the African Union, at the UN, to have a two-state solution.
Absolutely.
We have consistently agitated under the Pan-African banner that the Zionist state of Israel should not deceive the entire world that it is the authority of the Palestinians and all these so-called rebels, the Hamas and what have you, the Hezbollah, who are across just the board, that are preventing a two-state solution. We supported Barack Obama, who came seriously close to striking a two-state solution in Palestine. But instead, what happened? They increased their military presence in West Bank. They raised the entire Gaza Strip.
But let me ask us really,
as you conclude.
let me ask us a very logical question. When we look at this deployment, okay, and considering the current geopolitics and our local politics in Uganda, do you really believe that we actually can get in Gaza and take a position that is anti-Israel or anti-American?
No.
Is it possible?
Okay,
So that's so for so that's where
your answer is no. I know.
Yeah, the answer is no. The answer is no. So this argument of we have always been pro two-state solution and whatever, I think they cease for as long as we deploy there. Once we deploy, it is clear on whose side we actually are going to be deploying.
No, actually,
and I think for me that puts us in a very complicated position, which has the potential again to import that conflict, like we are fearing already.
That is my worry.
No,
exactly.
Let me come to us.
I join
so first of all,
with him. That's my worry.
No, you see, I don't want to deal with cowardice. I don't want cowardice to be the bedrock of our foreign policy. No, but you see, Arthur, let me come to you. You see, first of all, you dismiss social development. We know that one of our biggest income earners for this country is our diaspora population.
Yes.
We deploy workers either in conflict areas. You remember the group that went to Iraq and the development they have caused themselves and their families and the remittances. We have had people in the Middle East. They are usually talked about in very derogatory terms. Norway.
Yes.
You see how many people have come back from South Africa and the burden we are having. You know the military deployments and individuals have earned in all the countries, Comog, Central African Republic, Somalia. You guys, you know the people who have earned and transformed themselves. So how can we just dismiss this?
Of course, thank you very much for that very question. My take on this is that I'm not dismissing the issue of social development. However, as a country, have we done an assessment of because at the end of the day, we need to do a cost-benefit analysis. Yes, we are deploying. At what cost? At what benefit? Then secondly, related to the assessment, have we done a critical analysis and made a report of the expectations of the people, of the forces going to be deployed, and under which conditions? You talked about the issue of neutrality, which has been our foreign policy. We are members of the non-aligned movement, but to me, I look at the interpretation of the other actors, because in Gaza, we are not going to be alone. There are Morocco, there is Kazakhstan, and other forces. But what is the interpretation of the other groups of people, for example, who are fighting? Because as we know, Hamas is not totally obliterated. They are there, they are still active. And for them, their interpretation on our forces may be different from what we think. Yes, the motive is to be neutral. The issue is about stabilization force. To guard for example, to guard and support the post-war construction activities, to guard the humanitarian corridors. But what is the interpretation of the other groups or the other actors within the Gaza Strip? We shall not have limitations on what they think and how they interpret the situation. But also in terms of, then I can look at the domestic implications. How is this affecting or informing our domestic policies, for instance? We know that you've said that these people bring in money compared to other diaspora workers, and this directly touches the lives of people. Because if you do an analysis, for instance, in Uganda, you might find that nearly every household has got a person in the diaspora. But also, the people, they are represented by the parliament. So has our parliament been engaged over this? Because by engaging the parliament, we believe that is engaging the entire population. So have the parliament been engaged over this? Or it is...
Not yet, it's just a proposal.
Yes, it is...
They will be engaged, why not?
Yes, I've not seen, because from the initial point of view, the president of America directly contacted our president. So we don't know which arrangements are going to follow. If the critical arrangements follow and our parliament is engaged, then we believe the masses have also been engaged, and therefore we can welcome the results based on the expectation, which must be clear to the public or our stakeholders within the country. Yes.
Dr. Rugarama, you are a geo-strategic thinker, and I'm surprised, because how do nations advance their foreign policy and their foreign strategic interests?
Maybe
one of the things is actually going into conflict situations. That's one of the ways that all these nations have done, all the way historically, by the way. That's one. The second thing is internally, with the geopolitical considerations, including the transition, who do we want to be our friends? I mean, these are strategic considerations. Also, how do we advance our profile as a country, as a strong, able country to protect its borders and export peace? But finally, when does one become humanitarian?
Baguma, may God forgive you.
Forgive me.
Now,
for God's sake.
Honestly, okay, let's look at it this way. Still keeping with your strategic analysis. And yes, of course, you are talking about supporting the geostrategic, the geostrategy of America. Then I will buy into your argument. But that by doing what we intend to do, deploy in the Gaza Strip, is part of advancing our global diplomatic geopolitical strategy. I doubt it so much. Reason being, that, look, we don't even have to be on the other side and then we refuse the other side. You know, Uganda not many years ago, if not just months, we applied and I think we are at an advanced stage of becoming members of the BRICS.
Yes.
And we know what BRICS stands for. And we know that, of course, on the other opposite side, there is America with Western Europe, although their NATO alliance is also crumbling. Two, we know our position, even as Uganda, when it comes to the remaining geographical presence of Morocco on the Republic of Sahrawi. We are together with African Union, and in the Gaza Strip, we are going to be with Morocco, whose interests we know they are not really in any way, because for them they determined that away from the African Union and the Arab League, that they support the state of Israel, and we know what the state of Israel stands for. I don't want to go into these religious arguments and what have you. I'm just trying to look at it from the humanistic point of view. We know what the defense forces of Israel have been doing and still are still doing. Not that they did it some time back. We know that their prime minister or the president, if you like, but it's the prime minister anyway for them. Netanyahu is an indicted man. He has an arrest warrant for the International Criminal Court. But at the end of the day, again, we know that there is no, what Trump is trying to do is to spread the problems which Israel and the United States of America from time immemorial created in the state, I mean in the country called Palestine, dismantled it, created the state of Israel, and have perpetually kept the natives, the Palestinians, in slavery. So what they want now is that if they can bring some Moroccans here, Ugandans there, then they would make it, they want to make it, give it some kind of a blessing.
That's okay. If
that
we
you
have,
see.
No, it's okay, Rugarama. If we have converging interests, forget about their interests. We are talking about our interests.
There is no converging. What would be our interests there? You see, ideologically speaking, we are neither here nor there.
And that's strategic.
Today, we are supporting...
And that's strategic. That's why we are in the BRICS and working with the Americans.
What sort of strategy would that one
because
really be?
We are pro-Uganda.
Ideology. Okay, Kiija, Job here asked you. He said, what is the benefit that he has not seen so far from these engagements we have been having? I can have an argument that from the Pan-African point of view, the benefit is at least when you go to Somalia, you can see the benefit to Uganda, because the spillovers from Somalia would come to us. Even from the Pan-African point of view, these are our brothers. You go to DRC, you go to South Sudan, you go to, but when you go to Gaza Strip, we were supporting, for instance, South Africa, when they raised this matter in International Court of Justice. Now, what sort of arguments? And you see, again, to go back to what has been raised by Job. I'm coming. To go back to what was raised by Job, where he said I join issues with him. At the end of the day, in Gaza Strip itself, we know who the aggressor is. And tell me, even if, by the way, you look at the Rafah crossing, when it was closed, who closed it? It
always gets closed. Even when I was there, it was getting closed.
Wait a minute.
That's how many years ago.
You were even lucky that it was simply closed. They would have closed you on the other side. But the point I'm making is that the closing of the Rafah, and at the same time, food essential commodities coming in, who, if they closed it, will your UPDF deployment, Moroccan deployment, do anything about it?
That's
all the denials that the state of Israel has been doing to do with human, closing the, switching off the electricity, raising down the buildings, killing the unborn, including those ones who are in incubators, denying essential medicines to reach the sick, throwing bombs even to kill the sick in hospitals. How will UPDF or Moroccan forces or any other, in addition to confusing now the Pan-African ideology, really be able to stop that?
Finally, we have 2 minutes and we go for a break. Job, you see, democratic engagement may mean that you need external stabilizers, arbiters, to come in and engage with these protagonists who are so bitterly apart. We have an opportunity to play a role. That's one. Two, the bedrock of foreign policy and foreign activities of any entity is domestic policy. Is there any domestic policy you see that has played in here?
I think the only domestic policy is not even a national policy. It is a regime policy. Because the policy of the regime is militarized. They've militarized everything, okay? Build for the lack of a better word, I'm going to call it a mercenary force, okay? That can be deployed anywhere across the board. Which you can, because you know mercenary forces, we had the likes of Wagner, which you would...
Those are not comparable. Those are not comparable.
Well, I mean, Wagner has been fighting in DRC. We have also been fighting in DRC.
But we are a national
so
force.
You can't say we are not comparable. The point I'm making is that the difference between the two is that the other one is a private army. This one appears to be a national army, but me and you also know that it is a private army. Because this army, the interest that this army actually does protect at the core are the personal interests of the family of President Museveni. Okay? So that's the challenge here. That the army is designed in such a manner that it will protect this individual and his family, and the rest of you are getting secondary benefits. And so whatever decisions are made about this army are not decisions that are made in national interests. The first interests to satisfy by those decisions are the interests of the individual that created this army from scratch. Because remember, this was NRA. Okay? Lately, we tried to baptize it UPDF along the way. But if you've been really carefully listening to President Museveni lately, you realize that actually, often he actually refers to the original NRA. And he even flip-flops between UPDF and NRA. So this UPDF, in our mental programming, it is UPDF, but in his mental programming, it is NRA, the army that he built. So he makes the decisions that he wants on that army. So to ask whether there's a domestic policy, I think the domestic policy is the policy of President Museveni and his interests. So the rest of you Ugandans, because the question is, have you even ever been consulted on the size of the force? The year before, I think 4 years back, we were training about 4,000 soldiers. Fast forward, we jumped to 10,000. For the past 3 years, we've been training 10,000 plus soldiers. The question is, where do we draw the consensus on the size of this army? Where is this emerging from? If you look even at the metamorphosis of the military, you remember the challenges we had with the UPDF amendment bill. The military actually had to be deployed both in parliament and I think at speak resort for that law to be passed, even after the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court had actually declared certain things about the law. So clearly you can see that there are certain policy shifts that we are making whereby they are made without consensus of the Ugandan people, but consensus of the few elites in charge of the country. So whether there's a domestic policy or not, I think the domestic policy is probably domiciled somewhere, not amongst Ugandans.
let's go for a break. Very interesting conversation, I must admit. I've received a couple of comments from the people I sent the link to, saying this is a very interesting discussion. And a few comments from there, maybe we'll share some of them. But please don't go away. We will conclude this discussion. We have to move to domestic issues. The method that's probably is not new, but has been reinvigorated around fighting corruption, the Baram and Namere style, both honorables, both ministers at the Ministry of Local Government. We need to look at that as well. And then, of course, we shall talk about the World Cup. Don't go away. Just a few minutes, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions. Join the conversation, because the future begins at the bottom line. In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions. Join the conversation, because the future begins at the bottom line.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. It's always a pleasure to have you. And for those of you, Charles, in the United States and in Austria, and the colleagues around here, thank you for watching and for giving me feedback. Always a pleasure to have you watching. I want us to conclude on our Gaza proposed or suggested or reported possible deployment, and then we can move on to our fight against corruption and the new vibe in the papers. First, I'll go to you, Arthur.
Yes.
So if you were the one making the decision on our deployment in Gaza, just tell me in 120 seconds, what would you do?
First, that I'm making the final decision or supporting a decision on that?
That you are making a decision. You are now advising the commander-in-chief.
First of all, I wouldn't be against the decision to deploy in Gaza, because as a country we have been known for promoting stability, as we've seen already in our neighboring countries, South Sudan, Somalia, DRC, and all that. But also I would critically look at the repercussions of this project or program, looking at critical issues. One, the lives of the people, the lives of people benefiting, the lives of dependents of these forces who are going. And also, I would look at the domestic policy vis-a-vis foreign policy. For example, we are in NAM, which is non-aligned movement, which prescribes to neutrality. So I would look at that before I deploy, or before I advise the commander-in-chief to deploy these forces, such that our status as a country which has worked for peace in the region is not compromised based on the actions in Gaza, simply because Gaza is a different region, is a different scenario, and the circumstances surrounding the deployment in Gaza are different from deployments which have been in neighboring countries. So I would critically look at the factors surrounding the deployment, look at the costs of deployment vis-a-vis the benefits, and possibly engage the technical people, the experts who can really do this, and come up with either a report or an assessment that could guide the deployment. If it benefits the country as a whole, then I would go with that. If the benefits seem to be lower than the costs of the deployment, then I would forego the decision to deploy.
Dr. Rugarama, geostrategically,
First of all, I don't think that the deployment of, if it is going to take place, that is, of UPDF in the Gaza Strip is the doing of Uganda as a country. There must be some exterior voices that are influencing that decision to be taken. That I should be very clear about it. Two, I don't think that we have got the capacity, moral, militarily, reasons, any serious justifications for us to deploy in the Gaza Strip. Three, just like we have had, you'll forgive my diction, just like we have had useless peacekeeping missions in the DRC, which have just been enabling imperialism and siphoning of resources of DRC. Our deployment in Gaza is just going to be a contribution to America and Israel suffocating the Palestinians rather than us contributing to the balance of powers, because we know if there was any power to be balanced, who is imbalancing it? I beg to submit.
Job Kiija, finally, what would you advise our Commander-in-Chief?
So there are two things. The first one, again, I would go back to the net benefit to Uganda as a country, because, and I would look at what has happened in the past. We went into South Sudan together with Kenya and a number of other countries. When you go to South Sudan, you find Kenyan banks, they are doing business. You don't see any serious businesses that are being done by Ugandans in South Sudan, or even businesses from which Uganda as a country is actually generating revenue in terms of tax or whatever. But Kenyan banks are there, they are making money, their telecoms are there, they are making money.
You are being unfair.
We sell food.
You are being unfair.
No, I'm saying serious businesses. I mean, selling cassava, and the bank, and the commercial bank.
If you look at our trade receivables,
Yes.
South Sudan is one important one.
It is, but in comparison to countries like Kenya, and I really want us to make that comparison.
Be the leading, I think.
Yeah, so let's look at DRC, which I think is the most recent case. The US is there. Trump openly talks about it, and he says we are going to go there and get out all their minerals. South Africa was there even when they were chased away, but there are serious South African companies doing mining in DRC. Even Rwanda, by the way, them being there, we know it for a fact that they have serious mining interests there. In terms of Uganda as a country, I don't know what we have.
Gold.
So the point of gold, I don't know.
Our
I don't know.
exports have increased when you change.
And so which are your mines?
But
So,
anyway,
so I don't know. I don't know. So for me, I'm dealing with the official. Okay?
Yeah, please.
So the point I'm trying to make is that officially, as a country, we go into these places and you don't see any strategic interests. So if I were to advise the Commander-in-Chief, I would be saying, okay, right now, if we are going into Gaza, Gaza is a potentially lucrative area because I mean even in terms of the projections of monies that are going to be invested there, be it by the US or even by Israel, these are really billions of dollars. So I would be saying, no, we need to be at least, we should target to get at least $2 billion worth out of that place. So let's just not just go there and donate our labor, donate our people, because you know for a fact, in missions of this nature, people are going to die. That one is a given. But also number two, I would ask the question, if the US was going to make such a deployment, how would they prepare their citizens, or even the whole world, for such a deployment? There would be a press conference, for instance, an address even by the president, by the way, declaring that, you know, we are going to go into Gaza. This is the number of people we are deploying. We are going to deploy them for this period of time. And this is going to be the cost on us as a country. But also this is what we see as the strategic benefit. And that way, Ugandans would actually be prepared mentally in the event that something that happened, like deaths or whatever, there would actually be collective ownership by us as a country of those losses that we are making. But at the moment...
So that's how you would advise the president?
That is how I would advise him to actually address the country on these deployments and let us know the number of people we are going to deploy, what that is going to be the cost on the taxpayer, and how we expect to benefit strategically, whether it is in terms of returns through money or even politically, what that the value is to us. But at the moment, as a Ugandan, when I read this headline of UPDF is going to be deployed in Gaza, my grandma,
that's not yet decided.
Interestingly, I have relatives.
That's not yet decided.
I have relatives in the military, and I'm wondering whether some of those actually are going to be the ones that are.
No, we got
deployed.
a request that is not yet decided.
But I know there's a request we can't turn down.
Okay.
Knowing.
Okay. So thank you. We need to change gears, gentlemen. We need to change gears. But in case you have just joined us, before we change gears, Baguma Tika Richard, I'm hosting you. It's the Bottom Line program. Comes your way from Family TV, your Church of Uganda program. I have Job Kiija, I have Dr. Daniel Rugarama, and I have Arthur. Thank you so much, guys. We need to come down home and take a look at the corruption fight. We have another development. Dr. Rugarama, our Honorable Minister for Local Government, the Honorable Barugahara, the State Minister, the Honorable Namere. I remember when His Excellency the President was talking about appointing them, I think he was in Chankwanzi, he said, they said these are quarrelsome, you go and quarrel with these guys. And I think they
are doing it well.
I think, and some people have applauded it, of course. As you may see, a lot of, when you see the discourse, a lot of people have applauded this. Others have been very critical. Dr. Rugarama, shouldn't we be welcoming this new dispensation of energetic fight, taking it to the field?
I don't know if people like Honorable Namere, Masaka woman, MP, and Comrade Barugahara knew that they were going to be appointed ministers. But there is a way, if I may take you a little bit back, pre-Chankwanzi and during Chankwanzi orientation, how Namere behaved to capture the attention of the president, that including even the questions she asked, that when she was finally appointed state minister and placed in the docket of local government, it raised some memories that probably there was something maybe she knew or she suspected. Now, the energy, they are not the first to have these levels of energy. First of all, I appreciate this kind of work ethic, although I have got some reservations, and I will come to that. Why do I say so? You see, I think we need a bit of that. When you read from the third word to the first word book by Lee, the former Prime Minister of Singapore, it was hands-on. He would go to the field, he would arrest people, he would ensure things are done. And contractors, government employees who are in offices, they would be on their tenterhooks. See where Singapore is now, first world country. When you go to, you look at the history of Ghana, especially during the time of J. Rawlings. J. Rawlings was a hands-on president. This is a man that would visit, inspect contractors on the roads. Uganda, we are famous for not completing projects on time, and those which are completed, they have eaten 60%, and so it is 40% that has been injected in, and that tells you the quality of the project that we are going to hand over. And I think when Baram gets a tape measure and also refers to what was given as a project to be completed, and then he measures and he finds that you are out of measurements, then the end product is also poor, and he puts you behind the coolers. Although there is a systematic way of doing it, but sometimes that kind of fear that is instilled in some of these government workers, because I have said here before and I will repeat it, that a poor public service is one of the problematic areas that were identified by people presented by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. That is way back 2010, when he was interrogating the problems that the bottlenecks, they called them the 11 bottlenecks of to Africa's development, that we have got a very poorly managed, oriented public service who do such poor job that the country gets into, and ultimately the entire continent gets into problems. So yes, what Baram and Nemere are doing is commendable. I have seen even before them that our Prime Minister Musafiri, Right Honorable Musafiri Nabanja, is also very fond of moving around, a lot of energy, and bulldozing people here and there. The other time she was in Kasese, somebody had brought very fake blanket, then she pulled out what was supposed to be distributed, and people started quaking, including mosquito nets. He said, no, take these ones back, bring the correct. I think that way, it may not be the very best. Here in Tanzania, before the death of Dr. John Magufuli, hands-on, even when he was a minister, by the way, of works in Tanzania, the late Dr. Magufuli, he was such a man that he would even drive a bulldozer. So some of these things you need to be hands-on. And I think Africa needs that. People who are hands-on. You remember when NRM came here, we were not so old, but at least we have those memories. You remember that in the late 80s, then early 90s, the entire up to the 2000 around there, what we used to have here, corruption was almost zero.
Really?
How would you?
Really?
Yes, people would fear. Don't you remember that we had quite a number of public servants that would go outside and bring back the balance of the money? You remember that?
So due to my time constraints,
Yes.
Dr. Rugarama, your delivery is that this is good.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure. There are a few things to be fine-tuned because we may not, because it looks like some people may take it as playing to the camera. You see, especially when you don't analyze properly, you end up even arresting people who are innocent, and you would have damaged their, because it is on camera, you would have damaged their reputation. They have families, they have friends, and what have you say? But on camera, you are being arrested. What are you telling us?
And I see with social development.
Yes.
This guy, what he's doing really is intervening in areas of social development, education, health, infrastructure. We are on the right path.
Thanks for the opportunity. One person I would like to recommend the Minister Honorable Rugarama and the Honorable Justin Namere for the work they are doing. However, as a person, I look at the issues, and one, I would look at the sustainability of what they are doing, because this is it's like a caravan. It's like a crusade. They are moving district to district, but how is it sustainable? Are they going to manage the 140 something districts in Uganda? But also, yes, they are in a critical institution, which is the Ministry of Local Government. This ministry touches the lives of everybody, and they start from lower local government, which starts from LC1. And this corruption is it is in a cascade model. Some starts from at a lower level, others starts at a higher level. So my point is, in terms of sustainability, is it sustainable? Is it the best model to work? Then second is I'm interrogating the methodology. How they are handling it. Is it in any way that they prepared and documented to do it like this way? Do they have do they have means? Because this method, can it be emulated, for example, in other ministries? Is it attainable? Can it work? And how are they going to cascade the model from, because they are at a district level, but how are they to cascade this to the sub-county level, then to the parish level, and to the village level? Then second, with this model, they are acting as some extent the judges. They come, maybe the documents are not coordinating, and therefore you are a suspect. And before you know, Minister Baguma said that he will be moving with a drone, so he will have to pick you. But pick you under which conditions? Have you been prosecuted or not? Then
investigated to even start with. Yes,
investigated. Then secondly, thirdly, what I'm looking at is the way they are doing it. It's like they are, I'm not preempting their method, but it's like a gallery, it's like a gallery show. It's like a film, something of that sort.
Chibanda.
Yes. To me, that's how it is working, and although the results could be good for the moment. And another one is about that, yes, as a country we've been having so many initiatives for fighting corruption, and to me maybe they have failed, because I tried to look at some documents, the Auditor General's report. The corruption tended to be increasing. At some point they were saying that it started as a mild governance and administrative issue, but now it is a complex issue that involves a lot of stakeholders. Yes, there are some, looking at some of the means which were put to combat this to corruption. One of them is the procurement procedure, which is under PPDF, but you find that some of these processes are bypassed. The technocrats, the politicians use their positions, they connive, they syndicate to steal money. But now, related to this method, if you are getting, for example, a district engineer, how are you going to uncover the entire syndicate? If you are not carrying out proper investigations, you just hire someone in a drone or take him or her to the police or wherever, without investigating the entire issue. Yet this corruption is now complex in a syndicate way. So without that, we cannot fully uproot the vice. Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Then, secondly,
as you conclude,
yes, the system is being appreciated, by the way. When I look at peers, you look at the informal talks in the taxis, in the public places, you find that yes, this initiative is being liked, but it's the sustainability of the initiative is not clear. And how is it going to be emulated in other government institutions, other ministries, is still not clear to the public. So if they can come up with clear ways of how it is going to be sustainable, so that we get these results as the public, then it would be good. But if it is going to compromise other processes of tackling corruption, for example, thorough investigation and assessment of crimes, then it will not do us better. Then, as I conclude, I would look at the motive of the means they are using. Is it a targeted motive?
What do you mean?
Yes, because yes, we are starting with Ministry of Local Government.
Mm.
Is it what is the motive behind that? Let it work in the Ministry of Local Government, then it can be emulated in the other ministries, or it is targeting only this ministry, or targeting certain individuals, because they are looking mainly at the district level. Mm. But how is it going to work, for example, in the procurement processes on government projects like roads, water, and the electricity? Mm. There is a lot happening there. Okay. And yes, if the system is working well, it would be better if it is cascaded down up to that level.
On this issue, the recent Baram Namere method, if I may call it that, job, we seem to agree that the country is on fire because of corruption. These guys are doing some firefighting approaches. Shouldn't we appreciate them?
I wonder how much research the duo have done before going on to this crusade that they're engaged on.
There is no question that we have corruption. It's all documented.
Yeah, but and I remember I was on this same talk show, and I really wondered whether these people thought actually the reason they are being deployed is to fight corruption. Because when you listen to them, even before they were vetted and sworn in, some of them really were flagging fighting corruption as their main agenda. And I don't know that they know how to fight corruption, because this is not how you fight corruption.
How do you fight?
Through cameras and,
why not?
And whatever. This posturing, I mean, this is not the first time something like this has happened. The president used to do that a lot during his campaigns. He actually abandoned that approach. It's a tired strategy. He used to go, I remember, I think it was 2011 and 2016, he would go to a rally, and then people present their problems, the NADS, the health and whatever, and he fires NADS officials and medical workers. He actually declares that he has fired them. I don't know whether indeed they were fired or not. So for me, I think we need to be very careful with these theatrics, to create an impression that we are working, yet actually you're not working. Because when the president did that in 2011 and 2016, I don't know whether there's a net improvement in terms of the quality of health access. Also, NADS, I think we are no longer even talking about it now. It was killed by OWC, and now we have PDM that is coming up. Because the challenges of NADS were actually never dealt away with. So these theatrics of going on in public spaces, you invite the media, the cameras come, they record you, and they think you are working. It's actually a lazy strategy. I think these guys need to get back on the drawing board and ask the question, what are the actual bottlenecks in terms of service delivery at local government level? For instance, the budget allocation for this financial year to local governments is about 8 trillion. Okay? It's about 8 trillion, I think 7.9, maybe between there, about 8, let's say, of which 80%.
That's about what, 8 to 9% or something?
It's close to
9%.
About 9%. It's not even 10%. Okay, but yet actually service delivery is done at local government level. That's why you expect services to be delivered at the lowest of levels. Okay, but they are giving you less than 10%, of which that 10%, 80% of which is going to recurrent expenditure.
What is recurrent?
Salaries and basically administrative costs. Okay. Let's call it administrative costs. Okay, only 20% is actually going to development expenditure.
Yeah, but use the percent.
Well, this is what is actually
20%
being invested.
Don't steal it.
So I'm trying to show you where the root challenge actually is. Okay, such that you fail to you don't you don't get drawn into these theatrics Because the reality is meaningful money is not being invested meaningfully at local government level for services to be delivered. That is where the problem is. That government is pretending to be investing in local governments when actually it is not investing there. The money it is putting there is not meaningful to actually create the development change that is supposed to be happening there. And I think for me that is what we are supposed to be dealing with. So, Balam and Namere need actually to get down and have a conversation with the ministry officials, with the local government, and I don't know that they have had such a meeting, unveiling, introducing themselves formally.
I saw my mayor.
Hey.
Mbarara City. My friend Kachebe is my friend.
Yeah.
Saying, no, these guys need to introduce themselves to us. We haven't been officially introduced.
Exactly.
I said, no, we know they are ministers. They were appointed officially. So we know and they are doing their job.
No. If Balam and Namere were serious, they should first of all have organized, okay, a convening with all these people. Okay?
They even have a forum, by the way. The local,
yes, the local government, whatever, association.
Ulga.
Yeah, you call them.
Ulga, yes, Ulga actually. They should convene a meeting with these people and introduce themselves to these guys and say, we are your new bosses. These are the expectations. From now onwards, we don't want to see this, we don't want to see that. And then also, they are legally guided on what they are supposed to do. Because actually, I saw Namere crying the other day that these people, each time you talk to them, they hide behind the law. We are also trying to enforce the law against corruption. You are supposed to implement supposed to implement the Local Government Act, not the IGG Act Anti-Corruption laws. Yes, you can play a role, you can use them again to support you to implement the Local Government Act. But I think they need to be guided on how to do that without breaking the law. Because if I were an engineer that has been harassed like that, and I've actually seen the Association of Engineers.
I saw the professional engineers.
The professional engineers, they already issued a notice. And they are saying we're going to take legal action.
Yeah, they have threatened legal action.
Yes, and indeed they can actually successfully take legal action against these individuals. So, I think for me, we need to stop these theatrics and this posturing. Okay? The work of these ministers, their core instrument is the Local Government Act. It is not the anti-corruption laws and whatever. Those are really supplementary. You can use them to back up your other work. The question for me is, what are the terms of reference of these ministers? And I've asked that question here before. That President Museveni goes ahead, he appoints people, he doesn't give them clear terms of reference. They fail to deliver.
The rules of ministers are constitutional.
We don't even know how to assess them.
They are in the different acts.
Yes. Yeah. When they are being vetted, you've seen the vetting process. Okay? When they are being vetted, those whose mandates are being, for instance, a person like Balam, his mandate is being renewed. He has been pushed to another ministry. Yes. We actually need a scorecard of Balam at the Ministry of Gender. How did he perform as a minister?
The appointing authority was so happy that they even promoted him.
So are those ministers?
And the appointing authority has the mandate of Ugandans.
Yes,
by a big percentage.
Yeah. So even us, as citizens, we want actually to appraise them, okay, such that we can know that indeed, because President Museveni actually appoints these people, and after he starts crying that they are not delivering, okay. So us as people have given him the mandate, we actually need to help him also to do an appraisal of these individuals and say, yes, these ones you can actually give them another term. These ones we don't want to see them anywhere.
You have appraised them. You voted them as MPs. You are representatives.
Yes.
In Parliament, passed them. The person you chose to be chief executive
by the way, but if we had to go to the Minister of Local Government alone, I think, first of all, Balam was never elected. His deputy, there's a contest even, I think, they're in court. You know the manner in which she went to Parliament.
No, Job,
let's not use that. Let's not use elections. Yes.
Just a minute, Joe. The person you gave the mandate to choose ministers, chose them. Your Parliament approved them. Which other mandate are you looking for?
Baguma, the point I'm making is that several times the president himself has come and cried to us, okay, addressing us and saying these people are letting him down. They are not delivering. Himself, he has done it. So the point I'm making is that actually he needs to make us part of helping him, okay, to appoint the right people. And the way we can help him to do that is, first of all, knowing what are the terms of reference he has given to these people? Because
So,
in my view,
if you conclude,
in my view,
yes.
the terms of reference of ministers are not actually what these people are being guided by in doing their work.
Okay.
So that's the point.
So Arthur, I want to have you 1 minute because I see you really want to ask a question.
Actually, my question is very simple in relation to what Job is saying in appraising the ministers. That really, as a country, do we have performance indicators when we are, as the president is appointing these ministers, do we have no performance indicators? Does the public know what they expect from the ministers?
It's
Are
in
the
the law.
minis- yes.
It's in the law.
It is in the law, but
Yes.
as the public, do we know?
Because if the public doesn't read the law, the constitution is a public document.
It is a
It
public-
outlines the roles of ministers.
Yes. And even ministers themselves being appointed, do they know are they their terms of references, are they clear with performance indicators?
So what these people are doing, you think is outside
It is
their performance indicators. Dr. Rugarama, just 1 minute, I want us to conclude on this topic, and we are about to
I
conclude the
have
program.
been keenly listening, and I appreciate the contributions of my colleagues here. Truth be told, in doing what, for instance, Honorable Namere and Comrade Baram are doing, certainly they trample and they break a number of laws. That's for a fact. But you see,
Now you are
there
speaking
is-
as a lawyer.
yeah, absolutely. I know for a fact they do that. But you see, the problem we have is that there is when society has gone to certain levels of handling issues, that the only way left to instill discipline and have the situation come to order
Is by breaking
is
the
to
law.
do what these people are doing. And I will just give one example and maybe stop there. You remember how the current Attorney General, when he was the State Minister for Lands, how he used to go around the country. I can assure you, you would find somebody with a judgment which a rich man has said you are not going to implement. The judgments would not be, the person who has a judgment would not benefit from it, and yet you are supposed to benefit from it. You would find that a lot of injustice would be practiced on the ground as far as land was concerned, until a whole doctor of laws would go to the ground. He certainly knew the law, but the things he would do, he would say, don't tell me anything. I can see from the analysis here that clearly you are wrong, this one is right. You can take me to court, you report to me where you want to report to me. Already go back to your land. So sometimes the society reaches a certain level and certain things must be done, including but not limited to trampling on some of these laws. It's unfortunate, but
See, if I might just really
If
intervene
you
a
could
bit.
really keep it short.
Yeah. The reason we have mob justice now is because of
We've already have. There's no time where we have not had
no.
justice.
Yeah, but it's been growing
Really?
over the years.
Really?
Yeah. So the reason you have mob justice is because of lawlessness. Lawlessness that is created by the appetite to actually bend the laws in one way or the other.
Are you calling our ministers
The
a
police,
mob?
of course, what this is really, and this is the state of Uganda, that we are in a situation of lawlessness. The police is supposed to come and make an arrest of somebody. They don't arrest. I don't know whether you saw that video of Lydia Wanyoto,
No, I didn't
who is
see.
a minister, where she's explaining how her bag was snatched, I think, from a supermarket by somebody, and then she went to the police and reported. And when she went to the police to report, the person there in charge made a phone call and I think told the...
No, that's a common story.
Yeah, it's a
We
common
all have
story.
gone through it.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
common story.
Yes, because
so
I
the
want
point
us
I'm
to conclude
making
this.
is that the police fails to implement the law, and they create a situation of lawlessness. Okay? We have a situation now where abductions are being promoted.
I want us to conclude.
As the alternative. Okay? You have a situation.
So Barnum is an abductor?
You have a well, he has also been he has been promoting the business of the people that are abducting
that he
people.
Said he's going with a drone, but
yeah, he has said he's going with a drone, and you know the drone is synonymous with abductions in this country. Now, the point I'm making is that we are allowing this lawlessness to grow to replace rule of law, and I think it's very unfortunate that my friend Rugarama is actually even also trying to justify that, in situations where the law is failing to work, you should actually break the law. No. Instead of saying, let us actually work towards ensuring that rule of law is upheld,
and in the meantime,
and we deal away with the lawlessness.
No, in the meantime, there is fire.
There should be
what do we do?
No. So would we say that in the meantime, since the police is not doing its job, let us promote mob justice?
No.
And then before you know it, you see people like Sidney Gongodio dying, becoming victims.
We don't promote mob justice. We promote citizens' arrest, which are legal.
Yeah, you promote citizen arrests which are legal.
They are.
Okay? But in the event that the police is actually conniving with the criminals, you say, let us now use what? Mob justice.
No.
In the event whereby, and now it goes beyond. I saw this gentleman, I think is Frank Gashumba. I was watching him on TikTok. And he was actually, I think, on a talk show. I don't know which radio he was. And he was saying, these people of parliament who have been arrested, the crystal bodies, if court releases them, you are saying, General MK, I'm calling upon you to get these people and take them to the basement.
I have my views,
and
I don't want to use that one as a standard for anything.
And for me, I'm saying, let us avoid promoting lawlessness. Okay?
Thank you.
Especially if you're a lawyer, you promote the respect for the law.
Yeah.
Let the ministers for local government respect the law as they are trying to enforce the law.
Thank you very much. We must respect our time here. We are about to conclude. We have a few minutes to go. Sports diplomacy, global sports diplomacy, is being promoted through the World Cup, according to FIFA and a lot of the supporters, but also a lot of other things. The World Cup is one of the biggest businesses globally, and one of the most exciting, or at least audience capturing things. In fact, when I traveled with this team of Kensington Football Academy, I realized how even our kids can do a lot of sports diplomacy and promotion. On our kits, we didn't have anything visit Uganda or anything. We didn't even have enough flags to give the people who were asking, and many people didn't even know about Uganda, in Portugal and from the other Mexico and other countries. But first, Arthur, as we conclude,
yes, please.
Tell us about your experience of the World Cup, if you have experienced it at all.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a person, I've watched the World Cup. Wow. Not this World Cup only. I watched the 2018, 2022, and this one. But as a person who loves sports, I've been happy to watch the World Cup. But also, as a nationalist, I've been thinking that because sports has stopped being just a normal sport, it is becoming a business, it is becoming a diplomatic tool. So I'm looking at, for example, how is Uganda strategizing to benefit from sports? Yes, we are not in the World Cup, but that doesn't mean that we cannot strategize as a country to benefit from the World Cup. Then, second, what are we doing as a country such that we tap the benefits of the World Cup and even other sports? Then, as a love of sports, I've been watching matches and I've been touched by issues of what we've been discussing in terms of corruption. Some matches did not go as maybe as the wishes of the fans, and they claim there were corruption issues, blaming the FIFA president. Case in point, there was a match of Argentina versus Egypt, which I watched personally, and there were a lot of controversies in the games. So to me, sports is no longer an activity to pass time, but an issue, a global issue, which needs to be invested in as a country, but also with a strategy on how we are going to benefit from it. Yes, and maybe people who are fighting corruption and all that, they should look at a way of...
Anyway, not just restricted to what I said.
Very quickly, Comrade Baguma, let me just pass this one. List it is taken as truth. I didn't say that people should go and break the law whether you're a minister.
Oh yes, of course.
No, I didn't say that. I only said that there is when a country is at a certain political situation where certain legalese are put aside in order to normalize society.
Despite
certain
times
things
and despite measures.
Yeah, certain things must be done really. That's a huge debate. I will not go into it. Of course, I know what Job is talking about. That's one, and I stop that. But as far as FIFA World Cup is concerned, there have been talking points, a lot of talking points as far as refereeing is concerned. And my brother Arthur has just mentioned the match between Argentina and Egypt. I felt, of course, there were quite a number of talking points to the extent that maybe they need certain countries to be at certain levels, because it would have been a very huge embarrassment to have Argentina eliminated at the level at which it was going to be eliminated, and they found a way.
But that's the nature of football.
But that's football for you, and when you mix it with economics, which, like we observed, is a high economic activity, that's what you get. But of course we can do better. We shouldn't procrastinate, just to put our hands, arms on our heads and cry. We should keep striving to make the game a beautiful one. I have looked at it's almost now the old text, because the countries which have been at the helm, they are the ones that are actually entering the final stages. We may even see the only difference being Spain. Spain at handling the finals with maybe Argentina, and maybe Argentina finally taking the trophy. But in there is this element of the racism. There were pockets of racism. I saw the treatment of Mampe. If you saw, was it against Paraguay? What is this other country?
Paraguay.
They did everything humanly or subhumanly possible to, really show that. But he just ignored them. And that is not alone. I just pointed it out as one example. But we also saw what Aaron Trump had done, denying the best African referee from Somalia for no good reason, just because he's from Somalia. You see? So some of these things are just areas where we must, FIFA must improve greatly. And maybe finally, to say that, look, the world now of football is, although business, but there is an element, and I should mention this, where the African teams must be Pan-African enough. Because save for the Senegalese coach, who was African, majority of the other countries strive to bring whites as managers or coaches, and you ask yourself,
it's a skill
really?
It's a skill thing.
You see, is it that we are short of these coaches?
You are.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we can.
Job, you see, this is the question I was bringing to you, actually. He has actually been very well. The teams, the countries that are winning are simply investing. They are investing in skills. I told you, I just escorted the football academy where my son plays. When you look at the level of investment of the Manchester, because these big teams, The academies was there. Benfica, we played from the Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, the Manchester one, the Chelsea, all these academies were there. You need to see how they are resourced. So we can't, put half-hearted investment and then expect full-hearted results.
Yeah. I would actually like to really bring it back home. I know we are supposed to be hosting AFCON next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fast approaching.
Absolutely.
Before we're talking about 2027 as if it was far away. But now, on realization. When does AFCON happen? Does it happen like mid?
Yeah.
Mid?
Yeah.
So we have less than a year to really be prepared. And for me, I think an event like that, as we even aspire probably to one day host the World Cup, I don't know, maybe I'm being too wishful, but maybe we should first participate in the World Cup before even we think about hosting it. But all this, I think, for me, requires a certain level of meticulous preparedness. In terms of hosting, you need to be, by now we should actually be really buzzing about this. I went through Qatar before the other World Cup, and you could see the level of investment that these guys were making, the stadia that they were building, the infrastructure, etc., the excitement. This was almost a year too, but it was like the World Cup was almost happening. I don't yet feel that vibe here in relation to AFCON. Okay, all we are seeing being broadcast is the stadium in Hoima, where I come from. At least that is something we might get out of this. But also we've had several stories about the readiness. I think at first we were not passed. There were some challenges. I think there was also a second test where we again fell short a bit. I don't know whether we shall pass the next test. And I don't know what that really concretely would mean for us in terms of our fortunes to host AFCON. But I think we need to get a bit more serious as a country and seize these opportunities well. The number of things that we should be doing now. For instance, the policy framework. You should be having a policy framework that provides incentives for big-time investors in the sports industry, tax-free, or even giving them some sort of subsidies and whatever. Okay, look at the infrastructure that we have in terms of roads and whatever, accommodation, etc. As a government, we should actually be investing in these places, because that is infrastructure that, yes, you'll get to support AFCON, but also it will be used for other tourism opportunities afterwards. Okay. But also, most importantly for me, I think also the profiling globally. Sadly, at the moment, we still have this Ebola challenge around us. We are still to deal with it. But also, I remember sometime last year when the US was trying to do these deportations of people that are trying to deport to different countries, and Uganda had been identified. They were supposed to be deporting, I think,
supposed to receive, yes.
To receive, I think, somebody from, not Colombia, from...
somebody alleged to be a criminal.
Somebody alleged to be a criminal, and that criminal, his defense in court was that, I fear if I go to Uganda, I'll be abducted.
I know.
So they actually turned down. Yes, they said if I go to Uganda, I'll be abducted.
So
that was their fear. So the point for me is that also we need to clean up our international image such that we become a first choice for sports tourism, for even other tourists to come and really enjoy our country, because we have a lot of tourism potential here, including our sports. I mean, we've had some people that have competed very well at the global scene.
We have champions.
We have champions.
In athletics and boxing. And
these are people we should be marketing locally. We should really be making a lot of noise about them. By now, we should be having monuments. We should be having training facilities. We should be having stadia in memory of them, even as they are still alive.
Whatever.
No. Where's the Akiba Stadium?
But we need to conclude.
I saw the other day the children of Ajid Busi were fighting, I think, with their grandmother or mother over property here in Muyenga.
Yeah, but those are personal things.
What
do we do? We need to really
their legacies. How do we protect their legacies? But also those that are champions and that are still alive, how do we really milk as much as possible out of them when they are still around?
No, we have milked the program enough. We need to stop. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you for staying with us. It's The Bottom Line, your show that comes your way from Family TV every Wednesday, 9 o'clock. We really invite you to stay with us. We invite those comments for us on our socials, and we thank you for staying with us. Arthur,
Yes,
I want to thank you for committing your time and sharing your perspectives. Arthur Ahimbisibwe is a social development specialist. Dr. Daniel Rugarama is the usual one, social, no geostrategic thinker and lawyer and Pan-Africanist. And of course, not yet doctor, but aspiring Dr. Job Kiija of IDEA or the innovations for democratic engagement and action.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Baguma Tinkasimbe Richard, wishing you a good night and calling upon you to keep watching Family TV. That's where your families will find comfort and watch in peace. Thank you, and may God bless you.
In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions.